I think the part that really trips us up, even though logically it feels profound to say like, oh, when we talk about moving to the past, we really worry about radically changing the present by a small thing. I'm also going to just clarify that or double down on that by saying it's what science fiction movies and like discussions have really told us is true, right? It's the butterfly effect across time. Say you're launching an object into space and you're heading out into the far reaches of space and you're floating past Pluto and you're like, hey, Pluto, what's up? Sorry, not a planet anymore. And like you're carrying on. If you are off by like a half a degree at the launch, at the beginning, one present moment decision, if you're off by half a degree, you could miss Pluto entirely because that decision expands across the reach of time and space. Welcome to the Manifesting Millions podcast, where we talk about manifestation, money, and practical guidance to creating your dream reality. My name is Amy Van Meel, and I am an experienced coach and transformation guide, obsessed with helping you get out of your own way and create a life that blows your mind each day you wake up. My goal in this podcast is to share practical manifestation, self-awareness, and growth techniques in real talk conversations. So if you're ready to massively transform your reality, your finances, your relationships, and your overall enjoyment of life, you are in the right place. I am absolutely delighted that you're here with me today, babe. Let's get into it. Good morning, my loves, and welcome to the Manifesting Millions podcast. If it's not morning time for you, then just hello, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning in from today. It's morning time, obviously, for me here, and today is going to be one of those more thoughtful episodes. I'm going to do my level best to not have giant gaps in what I'm saying and to not fill your ears with a whole bunch of ums. So let's get into it. I had on my calendar today to record this podcast and I wasn't quite sure what I was going to talk about. And then, as always happens, I was doing some other tasks that needed to be done this morning and came across a little bit of text that really stopped me and it just sort of resonated like, okay, this is what we're going to talk about today on the podcast. So I want to just read this out because I want to make sure I wrote this down. I wrote the note to make sure that I have full clarity for you. And then we're just going to riff on it. All right. So here we go. When people talk about traveling to the past, they worry about radically changing the present by doing something small. But barely anyone in the present really thinks that they can radically change the future by doing something small. Now, you may have heard a version of this before. I know I for sure have seen something like this float across my awareness in previous days, but it really struck me this morning. And perhaps it struck me a little bit differently, just where I am in my life, what things are looking like. And also, our family is building a new building. And today, the footings are getting poured. If you know anything about building structure, the footings are the concrete, for lack of a better description, they're a concrete square or rectangle that sits below the foundation. And it is literally the part that the building stands on, all right? Translates the load into the ground, disperses it across. It's a whole thing. We're not going to get into like all of the forces that are happening. But today the footings are getting poured. Now, as you know, to build a new structure, it's not as simple as, okay, we're going to build it, bam, we start pouring the footings. This has been a project in the works for a lot of years, actually. I'm going to get, what are we, 2025? So like 3 years, I think at least, a lot of planning, a lot of, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like, excuse me, moving, the word will come to me. A lot of discussion among the family members. There's a lot of people who are invested in this particular location. So we want to make sure that everybody is happy and joyful with what is going forward. So it took a tremendous amount of time to get that planning done. And then once we have the planning done, then it's a matter of, finding someone who's actually going to be able to build the structure. And then it's determining what our budget is going to be. And then it's a billion tiny decisions that stack up to create this amazing piece. And those decisions have to then be translated into physical manifestation. So today is the first real physical manifestation of something going in place. Up until now, it's been a clearing out. All right, my love, I trust that you are getting just so much value out of today's episode, but it would be remiss of me if I didn't very quickly poke in here and just remind you, if you have not yet done so, to get on the Insights email list. It's a juicy space where I share some really amazing insights and transmissions that you literally will not get anywhere else. Click on the link in the show notes to get on the list. We talk about this a lot when it comes to creating a new version of reality in our lives, right? I know I've talked about it on the podcast before. There are countless teachers, coaches, business experts, whatever, that will talk about this idea that it's not really, it's an idea. Anyway, let's leave it at that. This idea that in order for something new to come in, something, we'll call it old, often needs to be removed. And we have a fear of this removal because we're often really afraid that what is going to be removed is something that we really want to keep. However, when we focus on that, we miss the joy of what is coming in. Now, this has been a really interesting process because the structure that was in place on this particular location has been there upwards of 75 years, I think. There are many generations of memories that are embedded in the original structures. Even though everyone was excited about what is to come, and everyone knows that, of course, in order for what is to come, the old needs to go, everyone also had to go through their own grieving process as we cleared out old buildings, as we prepared for demolition, as we watched excavating machines come in and dig the hole for the foundation to go into place. And that's a difficult, challenging time. It's an emotional time because what was there is now changing. And even though we know it's changing for the better, there's still a time of processing and grieving and releasing. Now, imagine, how do I want to say this? Imagine that you knew, let's say your design, we're going to stay on this building example because I think it's a solid one for our topic today. Imagine that you knew, how do I want to phrase this? That one decision that you made was going to tweak the trajectory just enough that the end result will be quite different. So I'm going to be really silly with the example, okay? Imagine that instead of using knobs on all of the cabinets, you decided that you were going to use pulls. Now, for those of you who aren't super familiar with the vernacular of the difference between knobs and pulls, knobs are literally a knob, whereas a pull looks like a handle, okay? So imagine that you decided, no, we're not using knobs, we're going to use pulls everywhere. And that one decision somehow creates a whole series of shifted realities moving forward. And you wouldn't know that at the time because it's a tiny decision. I mean, it's a big decision. If you've ever had to design a place, you're just like, OMG, there's another thing that needs to be decided. But it's a small decision in the present moment. When you're clearing out old buildings, when you're digging for the foundation, when you're pouring the footings, the handles that are going to go on the cabinets make no difference. But let's say that, by choosing holes instead of knobs, 20 years down the road, I don't know, you decide that you want to update them, but now the holes are in the wrong place. And so the only way to actually change and update the kitchen is that you have to completely either change all the doors and drawers. And then if that's the case, they don't make them anymore. You don't have the budget anymore. So now you're looking at replacing an entire kitchen. And then in doing so, there causes this big argument. Or perhaps, to take it on a more positive way, because it doesn't have to be negative, perhaps, the person in charge of managing that project meets somebody new and a new love story starts up and people's lives are changed completely differently. And that's all because way back when, in the present moment, someone decided we're not going to put knobs in place, we're going to put poles in place. And that decision causes all these things to happen in the future. The tricky thing, I think the part that really trips us up, even though logically it feels profound to say when we talk about moving to the past, we really worry about radically changing the present by a small thing. I'm also going to just clarify that or double down on that by saying it's what science fiction movies and discussions have really told us is true, right? It's the butterfly effect across time, expanded. It's imagine that I know, okay, I'm not a rocket scientist, quite literally, but I do know that if you're launching an object into space and you're heading out into the far reaches of space and you're floating past Pluto and you're like, hey, Pluto, what's up? Sorry, you're not a planet anymore. And you're carrying on. If you are off by a half a degree, okay, at the launch, at the beginning, one present moment decision, if you're off by half a degree, you could miss Pluto entirely because that decision expands across the reach of time and space. Now, when we think about going to the past, we're like, yeah, okay, we want to be careful. We don't want to fuck it all up because this one decision, even though we might think, maybe instead of, often we want to go to the past to change something that wasn't so great. Maybe we want to save a loved one. Maybe we want to not take a job, right? Whatever that looks like. Because we're trying to avoid a painful experience. But that painful experience has gifted you something. What we logically know, we understand that our decisions today are impacting all of our tomorrows. We get that. There is a much needed, there's going to be a word that's going to come to me in a moment here. There's a much needed lag time on that decision. No, that's not correct. All right. It's going to come to me. Let me say the sentence differently. In order to move through our day-to-day, we have to create this almost buffer around our decisions, because otherwise we'd go completely crazy trying to weigh every possible outcome on every single decision, right? If we were to worry that, okay, if I have a handful of nuts as a snack in the afternoon, is that, am I going to choke on a nut? Or is that handful of nuts going to start this, I don't know, habit of having nuts every day? And then am I going to have more and more? And by doing so, then we end up putting on a whole bunch of weight. I mean, you just can't weigh every single decision every single day with this super long processing of like, what is the possible impact in the future, right? It comes to mind thinking about Steve Jobs and how he famously only ever wore black turtlenecks. And he said, I wear the same thing every day because then I don't have to make that decision and I can keep that decision-making power for the things that really matter. That is important for us to understand. But here's where I want to color it in. The small things that we are making decisions on are things that there's probably only like a few day to day, and they don't even happen, I think, every single day. There's a few that actually will shift things for us. For example, at the moment, I am reaching out to podcast hosts to see about booking more podcast interviews. P.S. If you know a podcast that you think I'd be really great for, please let me know or introduce me. That will be amazing because I'd sure love to do some more podcast interviews on some other podcasts. So thank you in advance. So I am every week, somewhere on my calendar, often more times than once, there is a note on my calendar to like reach out to podcasts. That is one decision. It's a small thing. The decision to reach out to podcasts to book interviews is one small decision. Then I've been working on this for, I don't know, it's been a while that I've been reaching out to podcasts. Over time, as I've been doing the reach outs, this idea came through and said, oh, well, what if I were to ask people that I've interviewed before, would they be willing to introduce me to other podcasts that they have been on? Again, small decision, small action, simply reaching out to these people and saying, hey, would you be open to introducing me? That is not a hard action. It's not something that takes a tremendous amount of time. And it may have little to no effect, but it might also create a pretty profound change. When we take these small actions, it's really easy to, there's two things that are really easy to do, and I've done them both. Okay, and I'm sure you have too. It's really easy to lose sight of the impact that this small thing can have in the long term. And it's also really easy to apply an overabundance of importance on this small thing. All right. Both things apply. We will do them. Sometimes we'll do them at the same time for the same friggin' action. Like, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. What I want to leave you with today is not a sense of like, oh my goodness, I need to consider every tiny action and really consider the outcome. What I want to leave you with today is, I suppose, a different frame on remembering and reminding yourself that what you are doing in the present moment, like literally even listening to this podcast episode and whatever it is that you're doing, at the same time, whether you're driving somewhere or you're going for a walk or you're cooking dinner, you're, washing the dishes, or you're having the shower, like whatever it is, these small things are impacting your future, and they're impacting your future in ways that you will never know. When my life dissolved in 2012, there was something that I thought, wished for, intended probably in 2011 or even before that caused this domino effect of everything coming apart. And I'll never know what that was, right? Because there wasn't this super clear moment of okay, I would like to, have a completely new apartment and have a completely new job and have, this. And imagine my shock and surprise as things were just disappearing. This is what happens in life. It's not as clear as building a new building. We don't just tear down a building and go, I'll figure it out, or I'm going to just manifest in a new building here, right? when we actually are going through a construction phase, if I went to a builder and said, by the way, I'd like to build a new building here, but I have no idea what I want it to look like, no idea what it needs to be, but like, let's just start building. The builder might be like, are you drunk? We can't build that way. They need a plan. They want some guidance, which I know it's right there. The fruit is right there for me to pluck it off and go, so this is why we give the universe guidance and clarity and what we want. That is not where I'm going. All right. I just want to be clear. Where I am going with this is to say there are things in our 3D reality that how do I say this? That feel so clear of how do we plan going forward. When we start building something, we need to have the end outcome in mind. We have to be able to direct construction crews and material supply lines and like all the things to come together. All the details have to come together. That needs direction and guidance and the clear vision. But life doesn't operate that way. Life operates differently. I was just writing something similar to this in an email for the Unapologetic Abundance audio, which if you have not yet signed up for it, get your sweet little hands on it. It is a free 3-day audio journey, which will help shift how you feel about shame, specifically as it's related to money. But let me tell you, what you'll learn inside will also help with shame in any other area of your life. It will help challenge your idea of what an ideal state can be, should be, feels like, would be, because it's definitely something that trips us up, especially OMG, when we start thinking about our finances and in a broader sense, our life. And we also talk about and push on, I suppose, the idea of things being in a perfect time. All right. So let me just like collect my thoughts and come back to where I was. Life isn't checking in with you constantly to go, is this in alignment with your vision? Is this correct? Are we delivering this properly? Is this following the plan? In fact, there is, I don't know, a meme is saying whatever it's called, that's something like, if you want to hear God laugh, tell her your plans, right? Because it's like, okay, well, here's my plan for things. And life is like, okay, cool. We're still going to go do this though. All right. So like, that's just what we're going to do. And I think that when we are in the space of wanting to intentionally create our reality, that disconnect can feel very frustrating and can really cause a real sense of dissatisfaction. I'm delighted in the relationship that I have with my husband. Our wedding day was absolutely amazing. I wouldn't change anything about it, including the timing, but I can only say that from being on the other side of it and looking back. If you had asked me 8 years ago, 10 years ago, would I change it? I'd be like, yes, please. Because I wanted this experience, this day, this celebration, whatever, however you want to describe it. I wanted it sooner. I wanted that commitment sooner. In the end, how it unfolded was fucking perfect, right? It just could not have been better. But that's hard to say in the moment. And this is where I think life really gets us tripped up, especially when we are thinking about what we want to create. And that thing that we want to create is something big. I have no idea if this particular episode is going to, become one of like, I don't know, the most downloaded episodes, and that somehow something that I said in this episode is going to resonate with someone who knows someone that has like a podcast with huge reach. And so they introduce me to that person and I do an interview with that person, and that interview like also goes viral on their podcast, and as a result, a tremendous amount of people sign up for the Unapologetic Abundance freebie, and in so doing, they become familiar with my work, and then sales for my programs take off, and my coaching calendar gets booked fully out. Like, there's no way to know if that's going to happen. And to approach everything with that weight of, oh, maybe this will be the thing that's going to change it, is really going to hamstring you. Trust me, I know, I've tried. Okay. I've done the research. You don't have to go try to figure that part out on yourself. I can tell you right now, if you're going into it with that weight, OMG, it's just like a lot of, friction that you don't need to add into your creation journey. But I also think, and I very much disagree with this idea of like, just decide your ideal state and then begin embodying it and just trust that it's all going to be okay. Because if it was really that easy, every single person would be living their ideal state. Now, I do think that when you have a clear dream, I don't want to use the word clear. Let me say that differently. When you have a heartfelt desire for something, someone, some experience, whatever it is, I do think that that is intended for you, or you wouldn't have that heartfelt desire. But trying to chase clarity and then trying so hard to almost white knuckle our way through holding on to that vision while we're trying to really trust, that the universe, God, source is aligning the pieces is really difficult. And it's difficult to take that big vision and then translate it into this tiny thing that you're doing right now. This tiny thing, for example, so the Taylor Swift whatever movie is coming out in a couple of weeks, but it's actually will have already have been out and like done in the theaters by the time you're listening to this, okay? But at the time I'm recording this, it hasn't come out yet. So last night I saw that it's actually coming to a theater near you. It's actually coming to a theater right close to us. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to get tickets for my husband and I. We're both big T Swift fans. And I'll do them. I think it'll be just a really fun Sunday afternoon date. It's tiny. That decision is tiny. However, that small decision, that small action, that small movement forward is another piece that is keeping my husband and I connected, that is giving us a shared experience. It may not seem like much to go to the movie theater on a Sunday afternoon or a Thursday night or whenever you're heading out, right? But it's those small moments that are all the pieces that come together and build the experience of the relationship you're having. When I talk about, so inside Breakup with Broke, I give you relatively easy, it's not tools so much. It's like ways to approach different parts of life. So for example, in week 1, we take on worry, and we really focus on how to release worry. I show you a really powerful reframe on worry. OMG, if you knew what worry actually was, you would, I think, feel a whole lot better about it. Okay. So hot tip, if you want to know what it is, you got to get your buns inside the Breakup with Broke program. And the link is in the show notes. So get your tush in there. Okay, so coming back to it. The processes that I share with you, the ways of approaching these moments, these very real moments that happen to all of us, just in the day-to-day life, they aren't big, okay? They're not hard. They don't take hours. Some of them might only take like a couple of seconds. But it's those moments that tie together. It's if every time, think about it as why can I not think of the name with the dog? It's not Pavlovsky. Is it Pavlovsky? I feel like I have that incorrect. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about with the dog and the bell, and that like every time that the scientist would ring the bell and feed the dog, what they could do over time is that all they had to do was ring the bell and the dog would start drooling. Well, imagine it's the same thing. It's a tiny thing that is stacked over time. If every single time that you thought about money in your life, you feel ashamed, you feel this deep sense of shame about where you are, how you use your money, how much is in your bank account. And it doesn't mean that like you have a small amount in your bank account. You could have a whole lot in your bank account and still feel shame about it. Okay? But if every single time you feel that way and you don't realize and recognize that that's something that you learn to do and you now do just over and over and over, that small thing every time begins to stack up. And learning how to adjust the sails is small movements, small things that are just practiced and repeated over time. So, coming back to our main point before we close out, barely anyone in the present really thinks that they can radically change the future by doing something small. Totally get it. Totally feel the same way. Don't force yourself to overthink every decision in your day, because it's gonna drive you completely crazy and like drain all of your energy. And it's just a really unfun way to spend the day. Okay? Trust me, been there. But I encourage you to play with something small. I'm going to leave you with this example. The other day, one of the things that I really like to expand my bookings on is I offer an executive leadership mastermind. So this is intended for either you're leading teams, you're like, and they don't have to be giant teams, but imagine that you're managing a team, leading a team for a larger company, or you are an entrepreneur and you are leading the business. You don't have to have employees in order to be a leader, and your business is, in both cases, you're kind of facing this challenge, or you're getting ready for an expansion and you're not quite sure where to go. Okay? You feel stuck. You feel like you just have no fucking clarity of like what is next. And you've tried everything. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't see my way through this. What is it going to look like? That's where the executive brainstorm comes in. It's fabulous. We connect for 2 hours, and OMG, to tell you, this feels weird to say, probably will forever feel weird to like promote myself, but I am an absolute master at creative solutions. It is one of my special skills. So if you're wanting some clarity, absolutely then like book that executive leadership mastermind, because it's super good. However, bringing it back to the topic of today. So this is something that I want to be creating more bookings for. I want to be serving leaders in this way. And I'm excited about the impact that our sessions will bring to the broader space of the world, right? When you have a leader who is dialed in and is able to come up with a solution, with a idea that's going to shift the direction in a positive way and have a net positive impact on everybody that they are leading, as well as the company as a whole, that's really powerful impact. It's indirect from me, right? Because I'm not going into, if you booked me and you're a senior executive, I'm not going into your team and going, okay, here's how we're changing everything. No, you are going in. It's your win. It's your impact. But from my space, I get to look at it and go, I was able to help that person, and my creative efforts, my unique skills and abilities helped shift the sales, and that entire team is going to benefit as a result. And that's very cool. Coming back to what we're talking about, in order for that to happen, those amazing, cool things, I have to actually be booking the executive leadership sessions, right? I need to be booking people into my calendar for these brainstorms. So small, tiny, fucking easy way to adjust in the present how I'm doing that. When I was cracking open my tabs, it was on my list yesterday to do it, and I just was like feeling nervous. I noticed that I was kind of avoiding it. Suddenly I had to check something on Instagram. Suddenly I had to pee. Suddenly I was like, oh, my glass of water is empty, right? There's all these things that all of a sudden need to be handled. And I'm like, okay, get your ass, sit down, focus on what you intended. But I felt really nervous, and I realized here's the opportunity. The opportunity for me, so I did a hypnotherapy session a few weeks ago, and part of my hypnosis coming from that was about not being afraid to be seen. So taking that into this tiny moment in the present, I'm like, well, how would I approach this if I wasn't afraid to be seen? And that changed everything. It changed how I felt about doing the research and beginning to reach out and connect with leaders. It changed how I felt just about even the messages that I was sending. It's a small thing. And that small thing may have no impact. It may have huge impact. It may have something in the middle, but it also allowed me to experience in that moment that in this present moment, I can do a small thing. And let's see how that goes. My loves, I trust that today's episode has been powerful and insightful for you. I would love and appreciate if you haven't yet, please leave a review on the podcast. That would be awesome. And also, please share this episode out. It is my intent to collect more of you, to reach obviously more people. And as I mentioned briefly in the middle of the episode, if you have a podcast with a lovely reach, or you know someone who has a podcast that you think I could be a great fit for as a guest, please connect with me. Please introduce me. I would really appreciate the assist. And with that, I wish you an amazing rest of your day. Bye for now. Tell me if this resonates. You're a driven, high-performing professional. You've achieved some measure of success, but there's this knowing, this sense, this quiet calling from within that says there's more waiting for you. It might be in your career, it might be in your relationships, in your health, your personal fulfillment, but you just know that there's something more that you want to crack open, and you're just not sure how to get there. Imagine what could happen if you were to work with a coach who really listens deeply to what you're sharing, who sees your unique brilliance and reflects it back to you and helps you create expansion in every area of your life. Why my clients choose to work with me is many, many things. Among them being that I bring over 2 decades of experience investing in coaching and therapy and personal development so that you get to benefit from proven tools and deep wisdom. You will feel truly heard and understood, and this is something that my clients say over and over is one of the most profound and impactful parts of working together with me, and is where their transformation really begins. I guide you to reframe your challenges, to unlock new possibilities, and to ultimately manifest the life that you are craving to live. My coaching isn't about giving answers. It is about asking the most powerful questions and sharing with you wisdom from living in the trenches so that you can discover your own truth, direction, and power. You can expect a very safe, confidential space with me. There's no judgment here, just support and insight and practical strategies tailored to you. Whether you want to advance in your career, find more joy in your day-to-day life, deepen your relationships, work on your health, our work together is personalized to your goals. This is not about quick fixes, my love. I am all about lasting change that feels authentic and empowering. Picture yourself 6 months after we work together, clear, confident, living a life that feels in alignment for you, that feels magical and powerful, and that you just wake up every day like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is my life. That's what we can accomplish together through the power of coaching rooted in empathy, experience, and the deep belief in your limitless potential. If you're ready to invest in yourself and create real, lasting expansion, it's time that we work together. This is your invitation to step into a bigger, more fulfilling life, no matter where you want to grow. To find out more, you can reach out to me by email, amy@daretobegin.net, or hit me up on the DMs on Instagram. If you're ready to say yes right now, then head on over to amyvanmeel.com/next level and secure your spot today. I'm so excited to work with you, my love. I can hardly wait to see what we create for you. Let's go. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you loved what you heard today, be sure to share it with me by leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform and help me reach more like-minded people who are ready to expand their life. If you haven't yet followed me on social media, find me on Instagram for extra love and inspiration by following @AmyVanMeel or visit my website at amyvanmeel.com. I love you so much, babe, and I am damn proud of you. I am already excited to connect in the next episode. And in the meantime, believe in yourself with the confidence of a 5-year-old.